What's in a name? The London road that's been officially renamed because of concerns over the one it's had for hundreds of years. A road in Tottenham has been officially renamed following concerns about its links to racism and slavery. Black Boy Lane will now be known as La Rose Lane, after the poet John La Rose, who lived in Haringey. But some have described the change as futile and questioned the money that's been spent on it. Anna O'Neill has been following the developments.
Girls, look! La Rose Lane.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, I'm glad that they've put formerly Black Boy Lane on there.
A momentous occasion for these friends who grew up on what was Black Boy Lane in Haringey.
Hello. Just come to admire the sign.
A year ago, Leonie and her sister Melanie were reunited with their childhood friends Bernice and Debbie after a tearful Leonie rang into BBC Radio London. The friends were unsure about the name change. Will learning more change their minds?
Ladies, this is Ronaldo La Rose.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
Hi, love to meet you. Hi, sorry, Ronaldo.
Hi.
Hello, you alright?
Yes.
You too?
So how do you feel about the renaming of this road?
It's crazy, like I'm very proud, obviously.
Black Boy Lane is now named after the late Haringey poet and activist John La Rose, who came from Trinidad in the 60s and was at the forefront of the UK civil rights movement.
John La Rose was a real human being, and you can see his history and what he's done, especially for black and young people in this country.
The friends want to know more, so it's off to meet a man who helped set up the UK's first independent black bookshop with John La Rose in 1966.
I am one of the directors of the bookshop, and brother and friend of the late John La Rose, who started it all in 1966. Tell me about you.
We all know each other because we lived in Black Boy Lane
All right.
over 40 years ago.
Oh, really?
Because I was listening to the radio and I heard that it was getting changed, and I was
Right.
quite upset about it, actually.
Well, my ancestors were being enslaved in the Caribbean. Black young people, particularly boys and girls, were being used as mascots in this country, particularly of the very rich. So it has its origins in empire. This is about confronting the legacy of empire. Interviews with John La Rose.
After learning more about why John La Rose was an important figure in this part of London and beyond, what do the friends think now?
I think he's keeping up with the times.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the person it's named after, in terms of the achievements that he has made in his lifetime and the fact that it will be part of his legacy.
That's right.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
Next tonight, a street in North London has been renamed after concerns about its racial connotations. Black Boy Lane in Tottenham is now officially La Rose Lane in memory of the black poet and activist John La Rose. His grandson Ronaldo La Rose described the name change as a beautiful thing, while others have criticised it for being a waste of council money. Divya Kohli has the story.
Today, locals woke up to a brand new sign, and perhaps a sign of things to come. Black Boy Lane has been renamed La Rose Lane because of the racial connotations of its former name, but a response too to the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis in 2020 and the anti-racist protests that followed it. This is a big change for the area, from Black Boy Lane to La Rose. Maybe it's a change for good, but the majority of residents who live on it didn't want it to happen.
Well, I've got Paypoint here, I've got Oyster here and Lottery here, so we need to call them up and tell them the name on the road's been changed, but I don't know how long it's going to take for them to reopen the machines. I'm going to lose a lot of customers because of that.
People on the job, on the thing, they have to go to the job centre, change their address. People have got people up and down the country, they've got to change the address and all the rest of it. It's very inconvenient.
So, a controversial decision by Haringey Council, who also defended the cost of the new signage. So, rumoured to be £186,000. Lots of people will be reading that this morning and thinking, why are we paying for a road sign when there's a cost of living crisis? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I take that on board, but actually, whatever we spend during this period, we get that criticism. This decision was taken by our corporate committee sometime last year. I appreciate we're in a cost of living crisis, and as a council, we're doing our best to support our residents through that crisis.
LaRose Lane is named after black activist John LaRose, who came to Britain from Trinidad in the 60s and opened the first Caribbean publishing house, a man who shone a light on social injustice.
Now we do know who John LaRose is. You can find out more information and see more about him and the tangible work that he has done throughout the years. So we know where that's come from. So it's kind of like better to look at it that way around than we don't know where Black Boy Lane came from. So that's how I'd look at it.
So mixed feelings and opinions, but news of the change led to two sets of sisters, old best friends, being reunited on the road they grew up in.
Maybe for our generation, we didn't think much about what it was.
I didn't even think of it.
But if you're looking at it through fresh eyes and what the connotation could be if it was a negative one, well, just to dispel that, isn't it worth making the change?
And these old pals say change and progression is needed for these modern times. Divya Kohli, ITV News.